Rahul Magan here is the Chief Executive Officer of Treasury Consulting PT Limited, which is a Singaporean multinational group. As you know that we have a very deep interest in the private placement programs, and we are doing it also, and we are quite hopeful that by 2019 we would be able to cross the AUM by $1 trillion, and we are doing pretty well. Like yesterday we signed a deal in the UK about the bank guarantee program, about the monetization of the bank guarantee. Less details we cannot share in the public domain. This is a deal of more than $150 million in short. Now today we are talking about a topic which is long-term notes, private placement program, long-term notes. I was actually planning this video quite earlier, but due to the time constraint not been able to do so. In this we would be talking about what are the various issues which we have as far as the long-term notes are concerned, and so on and so forth. Now first of all we need to understand pretty carefully that monetization of long-term notes is quite difficult as compared to the medium-term notes. That's it. If you are thinking that you would be able to monetize the long-term note quite easily, it's not like. If you're thinking that you would be able to monetize medium-term note, it's not also easy, but relatively easier than long-term notes. So rather than first focusing on the left hand and right sides boxes, we will focus the middle hand, which is the monetization procedures and the red flags in the long-term note. In the long-term notes, one very important things, in fact two very important things what matter is who actually issued it. Who means credit rating. So if there is a company in London, UK, Switzerland, Russia, China, or maybe different parts of the globe, Singapore, US, that example, take a company of US, ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil is the largest petrochemical company of the globe. They are based out, it's a US based firm, which is a AAA rated company, which is a AAA rated country. Does that mean that ExxonMobil is having a AAA rated? No, that's not. Take Reliance Industries Limited India. RIL is having a rating of BBB. On the contrary, Indian government is having a rating of BBB minus. So RIL is just one level higher than BBB. One level higher than Indian government rating. So more or less there is not much difference between Reliance Industries Limited and Indian government. So if today Reliance will issue long-term note and wanted to get it monetized for PPP, that's not easy. Not easy. Another big difference which is there in case of long-term notes, which generally people do not take care and they tend to ignore once the issue is actually the bank who issues it. In our technical language we refer this as the corporate MTNs, corporate LTNs or corporate MTNs. Example, without quoting the name, I don't want to name any bank here. You know that there are a lot of banks in the world, in the global financial system, which are not worthy. And we have these banks in Europe, we have banks in US, we have in India, China, those who are not worthy. If they are actually issuer of your LTNs, then boss, you are gone. As simple as that, you are gone. So it is always good for a corporate, whether they issue MTN or they issue LTN, that they should have a bank in place who is a very well-known and renowned bank. Example, Goldman Sachs, Credit Suisse, JP Morgan, Standard Chartered, UBS, and the list is endless. I hope you notice that I have not mentioned a name which is generally being used in private placement. In this list which I have given, I have not mentioned this bank. This is not a worthy bank, to be honest, without quoting the name. Now here we take an example of a corporate who have a long-term notes, and we assume that the bank of the corporate is the Goldman Sachs Singapore. So we are dealing with the Singaporean branch of Goldman Sachs. Here we have the monetizer who sits in London, and he had the bank which is JP Morgan Chase London. So practically the transaction would happen between Goldman Sachs Singapore and JP Morgan Chase London. This is how it happens. First on a phone call or via email, they first decided that we have a LTN, assuming the value of the LTN is $10 billion. Let me write here, assuming the value of a LTN is $10 billion, which they wanted to get it monetized. That's right. Now monetizer who sits in London is also interested. He see that he would be able to get it trade, because monetizer will never invest their money. Actually they will get it traded. That is why they are generating so much amount of money. So how the steps would happen, please note carefully. In a step 1, Goldman Sachs will write MT799, which is a free flow message to monetizer. in which they will share the entire details of the LTN with the JP Morgan Chase London, and that is MT799, which is a free format message. JP Morgan Chase London needs to acknowledge this. Please note that sending is not your job. Sending is not the only job which you have. JP Morgan Chase needs to acknowledge this, and then they need to share with their client. And once client will acknowledge with JP Morgan Chase London will share MT799 again, which is nothing but an acknowledgement with the GS Singapore. Now the first step is done. Now in another step, which I'm going to be doing at the top, Goldman Sachs will issue MT760, which is Message Transfer 760. It could be SBLC, it could be BG, it could be LTN, and it could be MTN, and they are going to be sharing in the favor of a monetizer bank, which is JP Morgan Chase London. JP Morgan Chase London will share this with his client, and client will acknowledge that all the details which are shared is correct. But at this level comes an issue which is known as LTV, loan to value ratio. There are a lot of issues which we have in LTV. Now practically speaking, LTV is, if we talk from a bank perspective, from an LTN perspective, they are categorized into three parts in private placement. If we are not talking about the Brazilian bonds, where you have different categories of the Brazilian bond, H, J, F, G, and all these categories, we are not here talking about that. Now here, the first issue which we have in case of LTNs is that boss, who is actually a issuer, the credit rating. The credit rating matters a lot. Sometimes the credit rating is poor and the monetizer will ask for a collateral also. That is not wrong. If I would be at the pace of monetizer and I being asked to monetize the LTN long-term notes, whereby the corporate is having a credit rating of BBB minus, I would surely go for a collateral. All the corporates who have BB, BBB minus, could be lesser than that, might be C, these ratings, they will surely have to go for collateral. As simple as that. One is known as low rated banks. Example B. B categories are known as a low rated corporates. What is a low rated corporate? I don't want to give an example, but you know that there are a lot of companies in the world to whom they are actually doing the business, but they are not practically pretty solid. So they are low rated corporate. And one is a high rated corporate. Example, Apple, Yahoo, Accenture, Cognizant, Google, Microsoft, Facebook. They are high rated corporate. Issues or no issues. So LTV is something pretty important. Now we come a concept. Now when the LTV is decided that boss, we are going ahead with the LTV of 85%. I will not go higher. I would like to elaborate one feature here right away, that whenever you issue LTNs or MTNs, please have a look at your credit rating, because this matters a lot. 99% companies, those who issue LTNs oblique MTNs, they will never think about it because they not had a plan to monetization. Even if they had a plan of monetization, they preferably thinking that, we will see later. No, this such kind of approach do not work. Another very important thing which a corporate need to understand, the bank which you are taking has to be pretty good bank. The custodians has to be pretty good, and there are a lot of issues with which we have. Now, the monetizer will talk about something which is known as non-recourse loan. Monetizer is pretty much concerned. Reason being, we are not here discussing about this formula, but if you have an LTN where the face value of the LTN is 10 billion, while the dirty price of the LTN is 7 billion, monetizer is concerned. I'm not here talked about haircut, because haircut will happen on the dirty price. There are a lot of intelligent people in the market, those who are saying that the haircut will happen on the face value. Hello boss, haircut will happen on the dirty price. Now what is dirty price? Without going into details, dirty price is nothing but the clean price plus accrue interest. So clean price is nothing but the present value, and there are a lot of options, there are a lot of types how you will calculate the present value. but we are not going into the details. So the monetizer will take a dirty value, and you are not here to guide monetizer how to take a dirty value. So you will not guide him, or you will not force him that this is the value which he's getting on Reuters or the Bloomberg that he's supposed to take. No, he will take a haircut also. And generally for a low rated bank or a low rated company, the haircut might even 20%, and it will go to even more than 25% also. Again, as a low rated bank or a low rated company, or a low rated company with a low rated bank, you have no option, right, to criticize the monetizer that he is doing a haircut of 20%. If he'll do a haircut of 20%, which is 20% into 7 billion, which is 1.4, he would end up with a non-recourse loan of 5.6 billion. Again, you will start criticizing that my face value was $10 billion. The funding he's given to me only $5.6 billion, which is just 1% or 2% greater than 50%. So rest he's not giving. Yes, that is right. You're right. He's a monetizer. The reason being, he is issuing you a non-recourse loan. And 99% of the people do not actually understand the meaning of non-recourse loan. The meaning of non-recourse loan is, if on maturity, this corporate defaults. There are a lot of examples which we have. We have a lot of examples in India. We have a lot of examples in China. Europe is not an exception. US is not an exception. We have several cases across the globe whereby at maturity, a lot of corporates defaulted and nothing had happened. Investor went to court, they go for class action lawsuit and something like that, but at the end there is nothing substantial which they have. We need to appreciate that fact. There is nothing wrong in that, right? Now in this, what would happen once you have a non-recourse loan facility? Once, suppose this corporate default, then the only thing monetizer have is the holding of LTNs. And you very well know that as an intelligent people, if a corporate defaults, then this 7 minus 1.4, which is 5.6 billion, this would be less than 4 billion. So monetizer will not only losing, he will lose in a very big way. And once all these terms and conditions were in agreement, then monetizer will issue the non-recourse loan, and they are going to be issuing MT103, message transfer 103, whereby they will confirming that JP Morgan Chase would be transferring say so much amount of money in the favor of the Goldman Sachs Singapore, and it's a long-term loan. Because in the MT760, now the holding, now he has blocked that. Now the corporate has blocked that LTNs in the favor of the monetizer, and now monetizer do hold these LTNs. This is how exactly it will go. This is how the trading would go. In case of the long-term notes, there are a lot of issues which we have in the private placements. I understand these issues. There are a lot of reservations people have. I understand these reservations. But at the end, if you are thinking that private placement is not happening, you are practically wrong. It is happening. It will continue to happen. If you are expecting that this is a fraud, no, this is not a fraud. But again, as an investor, it's your duty to understand the product better than a person who sells you out. The purpose of these videos is just to let you know that the clarity in your mind will continue to grow. However, with due respect, we know that there are many people, those who are watching our video, but this is a pretty sad thing. They not get even 1 minute to write a very good comment on our video. Rather, they are sending so many emails and asking so many queries. But this is what it's a part of life, right? This is Treasury Consulting PPP Desk, and there are a lot of private placement videos on the way. If you have any more queries, you can visit our fixed income platform, which is www.fixedincome.global, and here you can see that Treasury Consulting PPP Desk Singapore. We are offering a lot of PPP things, bank guarantee discounting, SPLC discounting. We are having tie-up with almost 20 banks of the globe, and there are so many things which we are doing. Anything, Skype ID Rahul5327, email rahul.magan@treasuryconsulting.in, our platform www.fixedincome.global, website www.treasuryconsulting.in, mobile 9899242978. Have a wonderful time, and there are so many videos on the way. Have a wonderful time. Thank you.